You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is September the 23rd, 2019. With you today is myself, Carl, the Stevie Nick. Not here today, unfortunately. He is off having fun on his own. In his place today, Fred Anjema, co-host of the Slewfoot Hockey Show. Fred, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Carl. Long-time listener, first-time guest host. Is that it?
I think so. Yeah, we have done this before. Was it on your show? Was I on yours, or have we never done this before?
I don't think we have ever done this ever.
Wow.
We talk all the time, but yeah, I don't think we've ever been on each other's show. So,
well, we fixed it. Finally.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we're here. We're going to talk. We got some restricted free agents signed this week. So we're going to talk about that. We've got the Metro Division preview coming up. We are going to get to that as well. Before we do, this again, busy week in hockey as we get started up with training camp. Before we get to any of that, Park Power is one of the fantastic supporters of the Alberta Podcast Network, and we love them because of all the great things that they do in your community. So if you need utilities, right, Fred? You have utilities. You live in Ontario, so you're not here, but you're paying what, like Ontario Hydro and all that?
Yeah, I don't know if Park Power would reach here, but I'd take a stab at it.
You know what? We can get a really long extension cord run from my house to yours, and you can use Park Power. So Park Power, if you're in Alberta and you're looking for utilities, everyone needs them. But what's great is Park Power will kick back some amount to a charity of your choosing. They have a list of like 8 different charities that they support that you can choose for your money to go towards. And I love that. So they're putting back into your community. Why not use them, right?
Yeah.
So head on over there. Parkpower.ca is your place to do that. Let's start. Last week, we hung up the phones. We do this on, me and Nick, we do 2 cell phones linked together, and we record the show, obviously. So we hung up the phones. And about 5 minutes later, Brock Boeser decided to sign a contract. So thank you to Brock for... I always put it out, especially this time of the year. I'm like, look, if someone's going to sign, if any of these restricted free agents are signing, please do it now. He ignored us. Brock Boeser coming to Vancouver. He's returning a nice little bridge deal for him. 3 years, $5.875. It's an all right little deal there. It's kind of, for a bridge deal, it's about what I expected for him.
Yeah, you know what? I like this deal for Vancouver. It's only 3 years. It's good for him. It's good for the team. I mean, cap is obviously going to go up over the next couple of years, so it's good. It's good for everybody.
Well, and Vancouver, by that time, in 3 years, their messy salary cap situation they're in right now is going to be cleaned up a lot, right? Louis Eriksson's off the books. Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, those are both done and gone. Alex Edler's contract, he's done. He's going to be clocking in at 35, probably not coming back. So these are all players that will no longer be on the team at this point. And who knows who else, right? Brandon Sutter's deal's up. Tanner Pearson's deal's up. So these are all players who likely will not be returning or will be on a different deal. So there is plenty of money to hand for a second deal to Brock Boeser afterwards. Yeah,
and you've got Luongo's recapture penalty as well. That'll be disappearing. So.
Yeah, that's right. $3 million for that gone. So we just listed about $20 million in salary cap. And you know what? I'm not sure that, with all the lists of restricted free agents, Boeser was certainly a tier down from the rest of them, at least in my books.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he's had a few injury issues, and I mean that I think can hurt someone's value from time to time. And I think Brock Boeser, who's been injured a few times, that, maybe he's not that upper tier UFA, but hey, I think he's a fan favorite in Vancouver. So I'm pretty sure, Canucks fans are happy that's done. So.
Oh, for sure. Well, and 55 goals the last 2 seasons for a guy who's still only, 21, 22 years of age.
Yeah.
pretty good, right? So you can only assume that he will improve. You give him and the rest of those younger Canucks, looking more so at Elias Pettersson, you give some of them the time to continue to improve, and he will be earning a much bigger deal than 5.8, 7.5. This is a fine amount, especially for what he. If you assume he's going to keep getting better, which I do, could be a very good deal by the time year 3 comes around.
Yep, and I mean they're going to have to pay Pettersson at some point, so it's good.
I mean he's got 2 more years left, so they'll be able to get rid of some of those bad contracts by then. So, lots to come. Other deals, we had 3 RFAs signed this week of note. Second one also signed pretty quickly. I believe this one was the morning after we finished recording. Brandon Carlo, our second Boston Bruins defenseman, on their second bridge deal. He's coming in at 2 years, 2.85. Anytime you can get a young defenseman at under $3 million, sure, I'll jump on board.
Yeah, this is for me also a really good signing. As much as I love the Boston Bruins, I really like how they build their team. Obviously, they don't have 4 players taking up 50% of the cap, and maybe that's why they can get past round 1. Just saying.
You know what? Maybe there's a couple other reasons, I would say.
Yeah, probably. But
like
anytime I can fire a shot, I will, though, Carl.
So for those who have not, because you say as much as I love the Boston Bruins, for those who are not aware, since we'll get in, where do your allegiances lie?
Well, I am a Montreal Canadiens fan. I've been a Habs fan since I was really little. So long time. So yeah, Boston is not one of my favorite teams, nor are the Leafs. So
okay, so and that's what I wanted to get to. So you're not a Boston fan.
No.
And that, friends, is why Fred's on the show today. It's on the interview questions. It's like, what do you think about Boston? So, and maybe by the end of the show, we'll get to a little preview of the Habs since you're on today. Well, sure, seems like a good thing. Yeah, right. Like Brandon Carlo on this deal, that's great. The next one, sticking with teams in your Atlantic division signing contracts, and this is one that I know how everyone else feels about it, and I don't agree. Thomas Chabot, 8 years, $8 million each. This is way too much money. I understand that Thomas Chabot is a good young defenseman, but we've also seen what every other defenseman in the league is making for money. And this puts him way up at the top of the list of highest paid defensemen. And he's not there yet. And you can say, well, he'll get there. Maybe not though, right? We've seen way too many people, especially defensemen, flame out, right? Like you look at, speaking of Vancouver Canucks, Tyler Myers was a guy who was making tons of money because of what he was able to perform on his rookie deal, and not that good of a call in the end. So to have him, this will put him as the 5th highest paid defenseman in the league once this deal starts up. Thomas Chabot, not a top 5 defenseman right now. And to think that he...
Yeah, 134... Sorry, Carl. 134 games played, 23 goals, 57 assists, 80 points. He's got a minus 26 for his career so far. So,
I mean, I feel like everyone on that Senators team has a minus, though. Like that, yeah. I won't hold that against him.
Yeah, you know what? I 100% agree with you. It's one of those things again that is happening in today's NHL where people are getting paid before they prove what they're worth. But I understand that's how today's NHL is. Never used to be like that. But that is way too much to hand out for someone that young, for someone who's that not, he's that unproven. I mean,
Like you said,
that to me was wow. You're kidding. $8 million per season.
Well, I saw you talk about handing money out to players that are unproven. This deal was signed, and then I was seeing, at least from my the Avalanche side of Twitter, they're like, "Well, that's the Cale Makar contract right there." I'm like, the guy hasn't even played a regular season game yet, and you're handing him $8 million a season. Sure, I was all on board with them during the playoffs last year, but like, let's pump the brakes a little bit on this.
Mm-hmm. It's today's NHL, and it's just it blows my mind.
Yeah. So, anyways, and I do think a little bit of it also comes from the Senators' tax, right? Like, to be able to keep someone, they've had so many players leave that I think they did have to pay a little bit more to be like, hey, look, we want you, we want to keep you, and we're going to pay whatever it takes to keep you in town.
Yeah, I mean, they saw Erik Karlsson leave because they didn't want to pay the money, but I don't know. Maybe in 5 years this looks good. Who knows, right?
I mean, if in 5 years this deal that is currently makes him a top 5 paid defenseman looks good on the Senators, but
for sure they'll be paying him $10 million that season, but it's okay.
Yeah, and one last RFA sign. This one today. Mr. Brayden Point of the Tampa Bay Lightning finally signed his deal. We talked last week about how he wanted to come back, right? He said, I don't want to be anywhere else. I want to be in Tampa. He did sign in a bridge deal. 3 years, $6.75 million a season. Now, we can compare this deal, and I'd love your thoughts on how you would rank them. The Point versus Marner. Who would you rather have on your team? Dollars aside, who would you rather have on your team?
Mitch Marner.
Is it close, or is it not that close?
It's really close.
Okay.
It's really close, but I mean, yeah, I think Marner for me he's a little bit better. Okay. Yeah. Because
here's how I look at this contract. I love it for what Tampa paid. Because
it's a beautiful contract.
So if you assume that they're even remotely close, right? Mm-hmm. And you think, okay, either Marner was significantly overpaid or Point is significantly underpaid. And this is a bridge deal. For Brayden Point to get the same amount over the next 6 years as Mitch Marner's getting, he would need, for those 3 extra years of Marner's deal, he would have to be making $15 million a season. Which, like, it obviously isn't happening, right? Like, he's not coming out of this and they're like, well, let's hand him a 3-year, $45 million contract. There you go. Now you're fair. And I know everyone's going to say, well, it's the Tampa, Florida's lack of taxes or whatever it is. It's a great deal for Tampa. They continually manage to fit folks in under there because, they want to. Brayden Point realizes this is my best chance to win a Stanley Cup. I'm not going anywhere else and getting a better shot.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He's surrounded by fantastic players. The Art Ross Trophy winner, Stamkos, the Vezina Trophy. Was it Vezina Trophy finalist? Or did he win it? Vasilevsky won it, didn't he?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. Victor Hedman, Norris Trophy finalist or winner. I can't remember back then. But anyway, I mean, he's got great players around him. Why would he not want to, play on that team? And again, 3 years from now, he'll be going, all right, see what I've done? Pay me. I love it. I think it's a great deal. And over the next 3 years, these guys have a legitimate shot to win the Cup for sure.
Absolutely. They're still my favorite to win the Cup this year. Because they've done nothing to show that they aren't, right? Sure. I mean, they have in getting swept by Columbus, but they haven't in like the talent that's on this team. So yeah, definitely a big win there.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's it. We still have a collection, I'd say, of the big signings, the big players that haven't signed. We have 4 RFAs yet to sign: Mikko Rantanen, Matthew Tkachuk, Patrik Laine, and Kyle Connor. Winnipeg, we talked about them last week. They are the big question mark and the big piece in all of this because Patrik Laine had some comments this week.
Mm-hmm. He did.
And it turned into the classic, like, lost in translation kind of thing, which I get. We're not hearing, like, they're not sending over news reports where, like, people say nothing interesting in Finnish, right? We don't, we're not hearing those stories. So,
yeah. It's very difficult to understand if you don't speak Finnish, one of his classic lines.
Right, exactly. And so Patrik Laine made a comment of that he would love to play on a team where he is the best, to summarize again, me summarizing the translation of his Finnish, playing on a team where he gets to play with the best players instead of having Brian Little as your center. Which Brian Little took apparently little offense to, or so he tells the media. But Patrik Laine, a guy who's not currently in training camp, not playing in preseason games, does not have a contract yet with this team, and is now poo-pooing his line mates. It's not going to be a good situation when he comes back.
No, I mean, at this point, do you want him back?
I mean, I feel like you invested enough in him thus far that, I would say you do want him back. It's helped you push that price tag down a little bit, though.
I would say so. I don't know, though. I mean, maybe he's that a little bit of poison in the dressing room at this point. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough situation. I mean, to speak out in Finnish media, and maybe Brian Little is fluent in Finnish, so that's why he's not offended. But I mean, you can't call out your teammates or say the things he does in the media like that. And maybe some of it is lost in translation. You're right, but
I do get that there's probably a healthy amount of it that is lost in translation. All right, I'm not Finnish, and so I don't know, the exact words that he said. So there's that amount, and you see it all fairly often, right? Someone will say something to their back home media, and it'll make its way over to North America, and sure, maybe they feel safer telling the truth to them instead of Bob McKenzie or whoever's interviewing them over here, right?
Right. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with him. I'm still, this certainly doesn't make it more likely that he's showing up to camp on time.
Right.
Well, he's already late, I guess, that he'll be ready to go for the start of the regular season.
Hey, Carl, a quick note on Brayden Point, by the way. He had hip surgery in the spring. He's not going to be, and Tampa Bay said this on a conference call. I believe they said that's today. He's going to be out until late October or so.
That's right.
Cleared to play because of the hip surgery. So it's a new contract, but we'll see it in October.
Which they signed it knowing that, right? So
yeah, for sure.
And I don't, I thought when I saw that news today, I thought to myself, did that really impact the contract? And I don't think so.
No, absolutely not.
Because it's a month, right? You can assume that a player will miss a month's worth of hockey throughout a 3-year deal.
Especially with that team, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, they might only win their first weeks of games by 2 or 3 goals instead of 4 or 5. So
right.
you can slow it down a little bit there.
Yeah.
Sticking with the Jets, though, they had a tough week all around as Dustin Byfuglien, now suspended for failing to report to the team. He asked, and the reason that they did it was not because they're upset, really. They are just using it for salary cap reasons. But
yeah,
he asked for a time away from the team to reevaluate things and to do that, yet to come out with an official decision. But it sounds like Dustin Byfuglien might be done with hockey.
Yeah, it might be a Ryan O'Reilly type situation, maybe. Has he lost his love for hockey?
Yeah, well, and I guess we talked a few weeks back about when Andrew Luck did the same thing with the Indianapolis Colts, right? He did it for more health reasons, and I wouldn't be surprised if Byfuglien did the same thing as well. But he walked away much younger, right? He's 29 versus Byfuglien's 34. And we kind of wondered, when will this next rear its head in hockey? When will? And I still think that at 34, Dustin Byfuglien would be retiring early, especially having 2 years left on his deal, right? He's making $8 million in salary this year. If he walks away from it, he's not getting that back. No.
He'll have to find a regular job.
Right. Yeah. So $14 million the next 2 seasons, 8 this year, 6 next year. And so $14 million to walk away from that would really, you can say a lot of things. Dustin Byfuglien's made a ton of money during his career, but $14 million is $14 million. And is nothing to take lightly. So if he does decide to walk away, one, I commend him for that decision because it's not an easy one to make. But two, you know that there's, serious reasons and serious weight behind it because that's a lot of money to walk away from. Yeah, that it is. Maybe Patrik Laine's comments ruffled him a little bit more than what we thought. Can you imagine if that's the reason? He comes out, Patrik, I'm sorry, I refuse to be on this team with you. It's me or him. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough situation, and I agree with you. If he chooses to step away, I mean, he's done a lot in this game. He's won at least one Stanley Cup, maybe two with Chicago. Yeah, he won. Yeah, with Chicago for sure. Yeah, so I mean, he's done it all. He's won it all, and maybe he's just tired of Winnipeg winters. Who knows? Maybe we'll see what happens. Well, and that's part of this whole thing. So one. The Winnipeg Jets, if Byfuglien leaves, have now lost 4 of their starting defensemen from last year. Right, Tyler Myers, Jacob Trouba, Ben Sherratt, and Byfuglien. Yeah, and that would be a tough pill to swallow. They do have Josh Morrissey though for a ludicrous amount of years, and they do still have Josh Morrissey for way too long for way too much money. But outside of that, right? So they've got that. They now have the Laine situation. Mm-hmm. As this team continues to progress in the opposite direction, I feel like when Winnipeg showed up, there was this buzz around the team, right? Like everyone was excited about them. Everyone wanted to be a part of it. Yeah. People were willing to go to Winnipeg, right? Like the Winnipeg stigma wasn't there from before. And I feel like at this point, it's starting to claw its way back. Yeah. I think you're correct. And I feel bad for Paul Maurice as well. I mean, he's the one who's having to take all these questions and deflect and, I mean, meet with players and, basically, tell the media that, hey, we're trying to figure these things out. He's almost like he's front and center of it all right now, especially with training camp having started. So, well, he's doing a good job with it. Fantastic job of it, and as good a job as he can. And he also, aside from the media side of it, has to piece together some sort of a lineup when 2/3 of his defense core is brand new to the team. He has 2 of his best offensive players missing. It is not going to be a fun season in Winnipeg. I do not suspect. We talked about it last week during our Central preview. I would definitely move them down another notch. I don't recall the exact notch I had them on, but I'm moving them down again if this is, the next piece of their struggles. Yeah, it's tough to play when you can't keep the puck out of your net. Yeah, or you can't even put it in, right? You're losing a big goal scorer in Laine. Kyle Connor's certainly offensively gifted, and then who knows what in front of Connor Hellebuck. So the entire team owes Connor Hellebuck a real nice Christmas present this year. Yeah, you're right. And even with Byfuglien, I mean, that's not a strong defense anymore. It really isn't. No, hardly, for sure. Yeah. That's why Josh Morrissey was able to get so much money. They're like, look, I'm literally all you have. So, yeah. Well, let's get to it. Let's get to our Metropolitan division. This is one that had a lot of success last year, top to bottom. And if we look, we're going to start at that said bottom. And finishing last in this division last year, the New Jersey Devils. And this was a team that made the playoffs the year before, had for a myriad of reasons, a big one being, Taylor Hall missing a large portion of the year. Mm-hmm. Another one being bad goaltending, but, for a variety of reasons, missed the playoffs, finished poorly, not anywhere near the bottom of the, I guess close to the bottom of the league. They weren't near the Senators though, so that's good. Right. They finished third from the bottom, then won yet another draft lottery, taking Jack Hughes, number 1. So lots of changes in New Jersey this year. Hughes being one of them. They made the trade for P.K. Subban. He's now on the team. Wayne Simmons has come on over to New Jersey as well. This is a very different team than missed the playoffs last year, but what can we expect out of New Jersey this year? Well, you're right, Carl. They made a lot of great changes, and I think a lot of it hinges on what former MVP Taylor Hall's health looks like.
if he can stay healthy, they might be able, and with Jack Hughes has looked pretty good in some preseason games against really nobodies, but Wayne Simmons bashing the net. I mean, I like it. P.K. Subban, quarterback on the power play. A lot of energy from him. I think goaltending, kind of a question, but they've got a, good youngster with Mackenzie Blackwood in there who will probably push
Corey Schneider.
That's his name. Yeah.
That's where Corey Schneider's career is at, by the way.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering.
Yeah. So I don't know if the playoffs, maybe, but I mean, I think they'll push for it. I think they'll be much better than last year. They're not going to get a number one pick next year. Let's say that. Yeah.
Well, and Mackenzie Blackwood, like you said, had a decent showing, right? Only like 25 odd games last year for the Devils, but that's as much as Corey Schneider had, and he played better in those games. So I think if this team is going to make it, it has to be on the backs of someone not named Corey Schneider.
Right. Nico Hischier, forgot about him. I mean, he's another year older, wiser, better. He's going to be exciting to watch this year, I think. Yeah,
well, and now he's no longer he's not the guy, right? He can, he wasn't the guy before Taylor Hall was, but he can kind of fit into that role a little bit better, right? And kind of fit into that. I do think that he will have a very good NHL career ahead of him. And so, but having Jack Hughes there, being able to be that number one guy. Yeah. And Nikita Gusev, another piece that they added this offseason, right? So tons of new things with these Devils. And probably their biggest concern is still the same one from last year, goaltending. So
yeah, agreed.
We'll see. If I had to place them in this division, I would have them at probably the 5-6 range, I want to say.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think it's so tough to tell, right? I mean, with any team, of course, injuries play a role, but they can't be. I mean, Taylor Hall only played 33 games last year. He needs to play more for them to contend.
Yeah, and obviously that's the plan for this year. No one goes into it planning for Taylor Hall to be hurt. So
yeah, you're right.
We'll see how that goes for them. And they're not alone, right? This division, the bottom half got way better this year because we just move one spot up. New York Rangers, less bad of a season, still picked at the top. Kappo, Kakko with this team now, but also adding Jacob Trouba, adding Artemi Panarin. Big pieces for them. So they added a big piece up front, big piece on defense, and obviously the draft pick as well. Yeah. In net, we know what we're getting from Henrik Lundqvist. I guess let's put it this way. Rangers or Devils, who's better this year?
Oh man, that's a tough question. The Rangers didn't really lose anybody, but adding Panarin and Trouba, that in itself, and of course, I think for me, the Calder Trophy winner, Kappo Kakko, I think he's got that. I think he's developed, and if you saw him in the Worlds, he was incredible.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
So I think they have enough scoring. With Strome, Jesper Fast. I don't know. I think for me, the Rangers are going to be slightly not as good as the Devils. Let's say that.
Okay, so you have the Devils ahead of them still.
Slightly.
Okay, yeah.
I think I got to change that.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. Both of these teams, I think, will be on the very cusp because the Atlantic Division is still hot garbage. I think both wild cards are coming from this division, right? If I look over at the Atlantic and I'm like, well, the Rangers and Devils are better than the Sens. They're better than the Wings.
Yeah.
They're better than probably, I don't know, Buffalo might be better this year. They better be better, but and then, I don't want to speak poorly of Montreal when you're on the show, but I could see both of these teams being better than them too. So I could see either of these teams taking that wild card spot.
Yeah, so could I. Yeah.
Well, And then, so let's move to Philly, another team, right? Adding some more pieces. They had, somehow they managed to find space to overpay Kevin Hayes, which good on them for having that much cap room. I guess Wayne Simmons was gone and they spent that Wayne Simmons money on Kevin Hayes. Managed to, hand Ivan Provorov their deal, but Carter Hart starting the year with the team, and that is why they have a reason to be happy.
Yep. And a little bit of Matt Niskanen doesn't hurt. Getting rid of Radko Gudas, that would probably help them out a little bit as well. Yeah,
I forgot that's how they got rid of Gudas. Yeah. Man, the things you remember from way back when. Yeah. Matt Niskanen here. A little bit of a weird deal, but yeah, I think that'll obviously be good. But what we saw from Carter Hart last year as a 20-year-old in the league, for him to now come in, having that experience, having that confidence to know that he can, the team having that confidence as well, a team playing in front of a goaltender that can do it. You've seen what a young goaltender in Carey Price can do when he comes in and take over a team, and now over a decade later, still being able to enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Philadelphia's got some scoring up front. So they can put the puck in the net for sure. It's just, again, keeping it out of the net, which is more important. So we'll see what happens with Carter Hart. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in his second year as a pro.
Yeah, for sure.
NHL pro.
But for me, this is a playoff team, hands down. With the team, I would probably have them third in this division. And
really?
Yeah. Where do you think?
I'd say maybe not highest third, but probably top four.
Yeah, which is going to get them into that's going to get them a wild card spot.
Yeah, I think it's. I think they've improved. That's for sure.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens come season. Third, fourth. That seems about right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with that. Next up, Columbus. They really did nothing other than lose everyone, right? That's the Columbus Bluejackets story. We have nothing. So guys that are gone. Sergei Bobrovsky, gone. Artemi Panarin, gone. Trade deadline acquisition, Matt Duchene, gone. Ryan Zingle, gone. In Gustav Nyquist. And that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's going to be a rough years, and they somehow did manage to hold on to their first round picks. So they got that going for them.
Yeah.
Behind that, right? They don't have a second this year. They don't have a third, and they don't really have a lot of pieces to move. If they're looking at a rebuild, a retool, I guess you can trade away some guys with term and try to get a little bit more out of them. But there's not a lot of pieces here, right? Sure, Brandon Dubinsky. Are people lining up to trade for almost $6 million of Brandon Dubinsky, who has also a no trade clause?
Yeah.
So you need to convince him to go to that team. You need to have all that. It just seems like a very difficult rebuild at this point in time for Columbus.
Yeah, and they've got a lot of players that are older players, right? It's a young league at the moment. So I do, however, Carl, I do like their defensive core. Pretty good. You got Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, Ryan Murray, David Savard. Those guys are solid defensemen, and they do have some scoring up front. However, goaltending, you could always lean on Bobrovsky, to steal a game or two for you or more. But this year it might be a little bit tough. They've got Jonas Korpisalo and then Elvis Merzlikins. Elvis will be in the building, and that's going to be tough.
Let's play everyone's favorite game.
Yeah.
Where is Elvis Merzlikins from? What country is Elvis from?
He is a Latvian dreamboat. He's a Latvian dreamboat.
Did you have his page up?
No, not at all.
Wow, you knew that Elvis was Latvian? Well, good for you.
Yeah. I did a show last night, though.
That's fair. This is your second time running through the Metro Division.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that this is going to be a very rough season for the Blue Jackets.
It will be. Yeah, I think it will be.
I've got this team last, and if you disagree, I encourage you to make your case.
I don't disagree, but I don't think they're going to be as bad as everybody thinks they are. They're still a solid team, but they're just not a great team.
How much longer does John Tortorella last as the coach of this team?
Maybe December 4th.
It's like here's the thing. John Tortorella, he's picked this team up when they were terrible, right? Especially the first year they had him as the coach. He brought them back up. He brought them to where they were, and now he just doesn't have the players that he once had. So he's kind of like, for me, there's nothing left for him to prove. And I think that, for this team to be saying, we need to rebuild, retool, right? These guys up front, these forward core of theirs, are not going to be the ones that are on this team when they start winning next.
No, you're right. Yeah. I think maybe the only person that might be left is Pierre-Luc Dubois from this current roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, but I mean, I don't know. I like what Tortorella's done. He obviously, figured out how to beat Tampa Bay in the first round last year. So kudos to him. Obviously, he had the right game plan to take them down. So I don't know. I mean, is he the right guy for a rebuild? Hard to say.
I mean, you see, and he's kind of mellowed out an amount, right? He's less fiery than he once was, but this is not the kind of guy that's going to come in and it's been known for quite some time. He's not the guy that you want to come in and develop players. He's going to work a system. It's going to be great, but not so much that he wants the veteran guys in there. So
yeah.
Well, we'll see. And one thing I would actually probably disagree with. You said Seth Jones will be there. He only has 3 years left on this deal, then an unrestricted free agent. So he might not even be here by the time that this team's back in contending mode.
Yeah, good point.
So we could see the end of the Seth Jones Columbus Blue Jackets era, which is kind of a crazy thing to think.
Yeah.
Next in this division, a surprise team from last year, the Carolina Hurricanes. They finally put it all together. They did it. And then, won some playoff games, definitely impressed. Sebastian Aho still with the team after trying his darndest to go to Montreal. Did his part. Other pieces on this team. Jake Gardiner. We talked about him, just last week, 2 weeks ago? Jake Gardiner signed with this team. Still have not yet moved out Justin Falk as much as everyone wants them to. So this defensive core, just fantastic.
It's not bad.
I mean, yeah, Dougie Hamilton, Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce, Jake Gardiner, Justin Falk, Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good top six.
It's pretty decent. Yep.
Yeah. Peter Mrazek back in net after what was again, I say surprising. Carolina Hurricanes struggling for goaltending, and he was enough for them last year. I would say I wasn't impressed, but he was enough.
Mm-hmm.
They added James Reimer in the offseason to do that. They added Patrick Marleau for about a week. So good on them.
Yeah.
And the aforementioned Ryan Zingle, the other, I guess really the only piece that they added to the forward group on this team. What do you think? Can they catch lightning in a bottle again? Was this a flash in the pan, or are they for real?
I don't know. Anybody that has James Reimer as their goaltender, it kind of scares me. As one of their goaltenders. I mean, we're Jake Gardiner and James Reimer on that Leafs team that imploded in Game 7 a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but that's
so reunited.
Right, they're back together. They got the boys back. That's so far from a thing, though.
Yeah, you're right.
That's your Montreal bias showing right there. That's what that is.
You know what? I like the forward group here. They've got some guys who can put the puck in the net, and there's some toughness. I'm excited to see what Svechnikov does this year. And like you say, I mean, a great top six. As much as I hate to admit it, I think probably a top three for these guys. They're a bunch of jerks, but they're a good looking team. They are.
Yeah, I would probably have them fighting for like the 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
which is I haven't gotten to them. I had Philly in at 3, but I would see them in that range. A playoff team again, like you said. Svechnikov's going to get better. They're adding Martin Necas, should make this team this year. So that's a piece that this fan base has been waiting for the last few years, and I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a fan of it, but they're a good team.
They are. Well, 3 more in this division.
This is like the biggest division ever, isn't it?
There's 8 whole teams we have to get through. So let's keep on trucking. Pittsburgh Penguins. Yeah. They did some stuff this offseason, as they always do. They're always tinkering. They're never a team that's just going to sit idly by, because they can't, right?
No.
They've got a lot of money spent in a lot of places. Biggest move for them, Phil Kessel out, Alex Galchenyuk in. They also spent a lot of money on Brandon Tanev for some reason.
Yeah.
Which, you don't have to trade Phil Kessel away if you keep him, but I guess Kessel wasn't happy, right? That's the biggest part of it. There was issues there. Malkin reportedly said that he wouldn't come back if Phil was there.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Sometimes though, you have to fix the room, and if you got 2 superstars that aren't seeing eye to eye, sometimes
And for sure. No, go ahead.
Odd man out.
Yeah. Well, and Phil obviously was left Toronto on less than great terms, but and never really was. He performed in Pittsburgh, don't get me wrong, but was never the guy, right? It was always Crosby and Malkin, and he would even, as they would split them up repeatedly, he would always be like just third line Phil Kessel, which is a weird usage for him. So I'm excited to see him in Arizona, where he can actually be the guy and get those minutes and get that time and be able to perform like we all know he can.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see him in Arizona. I mean, it's definitely hopefully take a leadership role there, and it's still a fairly young team, and say, hey guys, this is how you score.
Right. Here's how you score. Here's where I've only been here a month, but here's all the hot dog stands, and let's go. Team bonding, team dinner. Here we go.
Yeah.
So outside of that, right, not a lot has changed with this team this year. Pretty much the exact same as what they had last year. And this team will go as far as Matt Murray's health will take them, I think, because he's shown that he's great, right? He's already, won a Stanley Cup before he was even rookie eligible. And then some struggles the last couple of years.
Yeah. He's still only 25. Wow. That's incredible. I thought he was late or older than that. I mean, his backup is older than he is. That's weird. But anyway, yeah. I mean, you're right about that. He needs to stay healthy. And I mean, you've still got 2 of the best players in the world, and I would never count the Penguins out with those 2 guys on your roster.
Absolutely not.
And Jake Gunsel, he's not too bad. I like the acquisition of Galchenyuk. He's still a young guy. He was a 3rd overall pick, so he's got some talent. He just maybe hasn't. I mean, he didn't obviously find it in Montreal. He had flashes, and same with Arizona last year. He didn't really show a whole lot, but if you put him maybe on, on Crosby's wing, he's going to score. He's going to score some goals.
Well,
or Malkin's wing. I mean, he's going to score some goals.
Absolutely. He's a guy that never had anywhere near a supporting cast like this, right? Like Montreal was clamoring to find centermen to be able to have there. Then same thing, Arizona, not a whole lot there. So to be able to come here where he can just be who he is, not have to worry about that, just focus on his game and not trying to elevate those around him, which, certainly in Montreal was the case. I'm not saying that last year in Arizona that there was that pressure put on him, but certainly in Montreal there was.
Oh, absolutely.
And so now for him to just go there and do his thing.
Yeah, he could have a good year.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for him going into a contract year, this is the best situation. He was just thanking Pittsburgh for making this deal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good deal.
All right. So yeah, I would have them kind of in the Philly, some combination of the Flyers, Penguins, and Hurricanes are like 2, 3, 4. And I haven't decided what it is. And I won't probably. That's just it. Like I probably, if I had to pick, I would go Pittsburgh 2, Philly 3, Carolina 4.
Okay.
Do you have a sense on that where you would go?
I would, yeah, I'd say Penguins are going to be somewhere in the top 3 of this division, I think.
Okay, so yeah, you had Penguins. Penguins are top 3. Carolina was top 4. And Philadelphia you had, if I remember correctly, in the top half. So
yeah,
it is.
I'm flip-flopping.
No, I appreciate your lack of committal. It's good. It makes it so that when people go back and listen to this later in the year, they can't say, you know what, Fred, you were wrong, because you essentially just gave half the division ranking. So
right. Well, I think at the end of this, I'll give you my complete 1 to 8 finish. We'll
okay. All right.
I'm changing my mind as we talk.
That's, you know what? You and me both, Fred. You and me both. I'm not just having to fit people in to match my narratives is what I'm doing.
Right.
New York Islanders, the team that swept the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this is a division of sweeps. The Pittsburgh Penguins got swept, New York Islanders swept, and then got swept. Mm-hmm. But they had quite the run last year. They lose their best player in John Tavares.
Yes.
And then still finished second in this division somehow. Well, not somehow. We all know how it happened.
Yeah.
Robin Lehner happened.
And he's not there anymore.
And they replaced him with Semyon Varlamov. So, I mean, Thomas Greiss is going to get a lot of playing time this year, which is great for him, right? He's going to be happy. When Semyon Varlamov's hip gives out about 10 games into this season, they're gonna have to rely on Thomas Greiss. So they've got that happening. And they really didn't do a whole lot else outside of that, right? Like they couldn't keep Robin Lehner in town, which like they paid Varlamov the exact same amount that Lehner got for a much worse goaltender. So questionable decision making there, right? Pay a little bit more, keep Lehner in town.
Mm-hmm. I see the number 1 goals against from last year not happening this year.
Oh yeah, it's going to plummet. And Trott's a big part of the reason. I'm not just going to give that to Lehner. He did a very good job with what he has, right? In the same way that I think we'll see if Columbus does well, it's because Tortorella does him coming in here and doing a great job coaching this team last year. That's the only reason why this team has any shot this year with Robin Lehner gone. But that said, I still have them at 7.
At 7?
At 7. Oh yeah, this team's the old fall from grace. 2 to 7.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
It's just like there's nothing to get excited about on this team for me. They kept status quo, which they needed to improve in areas. They got worse in net, which was their only hope. It's just nothing to get excited about, nothing good. So we'll see. But 7.
Do you see Noah Dobson making an appearance in Brooklyn or wherever they're playing?
I would hold off at this point. I don't think it would make a lot of sense to bring him in right now. Wait another year, let him develop, and then bring him in, especially as a defenseman. Mm-hmm. There's no need to rush him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Which leads us to one last team. The team that, if you've paid attention, is my number 1 pick to finish at the top of this division, the Washington Capitals.
Boom. Agreed.
Done. I guess we're done. Metro Division wrapped up. Evgeny Kuznetsov missing part of the start of the season. Apparently cocaine frowned upon. Who knew?
Yeah, but it's only frowned upon for 3 games, isn't it? Or 4
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. It's not super frowned upon.
It's not that frowned upon.
Like it's
kind of like, when you rub your fingers together.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah. Well, and that's him. So he's going to be missing the start of the year. But outside of that, you mentioned the Niskanen-Gudas trade. This is where Radko Gudas ended up.
Oh, Tom Wilson and Radko Gudas.
A team with Tom Wilson, Radko Gudas is apparently who I've picked to win a division in the NHL. So we'll let that be what it is. But some depth moves on this team, right? They brought Richard Panik got term for some reason. He's a guy that's done shockingly well as a weird depth guy, right? That's who he's become. Yep. They also brought in Garnet Hathaway, gave him term for some reason. And the Nick Jensen trade from last year, he's still on this team as well. So those are the moves, but they managed to win last year. They did well with what they have, and I still believe in the core of this team, right? Ovi is still Ovi.
Yeah.
Kuznetsov has become fantastic when he's not doing drugs. Nick Backstrom, still a stud. I guess the only one that's really starting to kind of fall from where he was TJ Oshie. He's the one that, not the TJ Oshie of old.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah. I like this team though. They're a decent, solid team. I think a roll with 4 lines for sure. So,
well, and I was concerned last year of how would they deal with the transition from Barry Trotz to Todd Reardon. Now Reardon was with the organization already, so that made that transition really easy. Mm-hmm. And it was quite seamless because he knew the system and was able to do that and kind of modify it as needed. So that worry is gone in my mind, and I'm ready for more Capitals winning hockey, kind of what we've come to know the last 5 years.
Yep. Ovi over under 40 goals this year.
Well, that would be my number right there for sure.
40?
40. So if I had to say over under that, I'm going to go with over.
Yeah, me too. I think he still has over 40 goals in him this year.
I mean, he scored 100 goals combined the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include the 19 goals he scored in the playoffs.
Yeah. He shoots it from the same spot all the time. I don't understand.
And he's so good that literally exactly where he's going to be. It's not like every team is how did he score from that, the dot on the left side? Where did that come from? No, he's going to do it, and teams still cannot stop him.
Yeah, they have to practice that a little bit more, I think.
The setup. Well, you come playoff time, you know what you have to do.
Yes.
You just put a guy right there on him, but it's still, I would think by this point that professional NHL coaches know to do that because, we know it.
Yep.
And we're not paid millions of dollars to coach these professionals in that. But hey, maybe we're smarter than we think.
Perhaps. Yeah.
All right. So I've got mine, and I'll give you a chance to process your final results as we go.
Okay.
I have an order of. I've sorted out Pittsburgh, Carolina, Washington 1, Pittsburgh 2, even though I don't love that. Pittsburgh 2, Philly 3, Carolina 4, Rangers 5, Devils 6, Islanders 7, Columbus 8.
Yeah, it's pretty close to mine. I've got Washington first, Penguins second, Carolina third, bunch of jerks. Fourth will be the Flyers. Fifth, the Devils. Sixth, the Rangers. Seventh, the Islanders. And eighth, Columbus.
Okay, that's so we flipped a couple of them, but we're so in line with it that that's obviously the way it has to go this season. So
yeah,
let's get a little bit. We still got some time left. Let's get to some Habs talk. What's happening this year? What can we expect?
Oh boy, hopefully. It's tough when you're 97 points and you miss the playoffs, right?
I like that I ask you, and I could audibly hear you just throwing the pen up on the desk. I don't, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah. Jonathan Drouin needs to show up this year, I think. I would love to see Carey Price be healthy again for another season. We have Shea Weber for the whole season, we hope, so that's good.
I was having a conversation with someone about the Habs yesterday. It was his 30th, a Habs fan's 30th birthday party, and I decided that was a great time to rip into his favorite team. He brought it up. It wasn't me. And I literally forgot that Jonathan Drouin was on this team. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Huh.
A lot of people have, Carl, to be honest.
Possibly even him.
Yes. Yeah.
So healthy Carey Price, healthy Shea Weber, question mark.
I'd like to see Max Domi progress. He had a fantastic first year with Montreal, and he can tell he loves playing there, which is it's great to see him. I mean, he was here in London playing for the Knights. I mean, he was so dynamic, and hopefully that translates into his professional career. And so far, so good in Montreal. The first season was great. He was a great spokesperson in the off season for the Habs. So I'm excited to see what he'll do. Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Hopefully he takes a step, as he was one of the youngest players I think the youngest player in the NHL last year. So I think he's going to take a big step this year. Ryan Poehling, Nick Suzuki. I mean, some good young players if they, crack the lineup.
Do you expect them to? Because I know Habs fans are pretty amped to see Nick Suzuki in there.
Nick Suzuki, I think he's done everything right in this training. This is third training camp, third NHL training camp. So he's gotten faster. He's gotten stronger. He can shoot. He scored a beautiful shootout goal in one of the preseason games the other day. I don't know if you saw that, a la Pavel Datsyuk. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I think he's gonna stay up here. He's going to stay up in Montreal for the time being and, get some minutes on the power play, hopefully. And we'll see. I mean, it's all preseason, so you never know what's going to happen. You're playing against other guys who are trying out for their prospective NHL teams as well. So will he do well against NHL defenses? Who knows? But I mean, I think if they give him a shot, at least, 10-game tryout, we'll see.
Yeah, well, and they don't have to give him that try. It'll burn a year off of his deal anyways, no matter what. It's not like he can go back like a brand new rookie could. So from that side, they might as well give him a shot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Take him that chance. Your hopes for the season, both kind of where you think they finish in the division and how confident you are in that.
Boy, I would be happy with the top 4 in the Atlantic, to be honest. Maybe a wild card spot. Hey, I'd take that. So then you never know what happens in the playoffs, right? But I don't know. I'm quietly optimistic, let's say that, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I like some of the, Ben Sherrod, I think, good pickup for Montreal. Victor Mete, I think, is going to take a step, but I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. That's a tough division. That's the Eastern Conference. It's just tough. We just talked about the Metro division and how many great teams there are there. I mean,
yeah, like if we're looking at it, is this team, in that fight for a wild card spot, are they better than Carolina? Are they better than Philadelphia? Are they better than, Rangers, Devils? Those are two teams that got much better. Did they get good enough to be better than Montreal? And Montreal also needs to improve, right? So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if, say Aho had stuck around. Then it may have been a little bit more interesting, but they haven't done a whole heck of a lot, to be honest, in the off season.
Yeah, they took their $1 million of cap space and instead of spending it on Aho, spent it on literally nothing. Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe he's not done yet. I mean, there's still a couple of weeks before the season starts. Maybe he's got something up his sleeve. Who knows?
We got a Laine offer sheet coming. Is that what we're hearing?
Perhaps. Who knows? I mean, he was bold enough to do it once. Maybe he'll do it again.
Well, and plenty of talk of the other offer sheets, where there's smoke, there's fire. When he was in on the Aho, who else was he? So, and we'll see, right? Mm-hmm. There's still 4 big names yet to be signed.
Yeah, exactly. I'd take Cal Connor on my team.
I mean, I think at this point, any team is just grateful if you manage to sign that offer sheet. So, like, thank you for doing the work that I clearly couldn't. So they'll just match it. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't at this point, unless it's really bad. But well, Fred, thank you for coming on. Why don't you let everyone know where we can find the Slewfoot Hockey Show?
Well, we have moved places this year. I mean, we've always been on iTunes. We've always been on Google Play, Spotify, all those places where you can find your podcast. But we're also on Anchor FM. That's a new platform we're trying out this year. Because that's a little bit less work for me, to be honest. And I'm what you call maybe a little bit of a lazy podcaster at this point. We've been doing the show for 9 years, and
jeez, veterans.
Sometimes you just want to touch hockey. Yeah, we're vets. Exactly.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, but that's where you can find us.
Fantastic, and obviously head to slewfoothockeyshow.com, on Twitter at slewfootshow. It is also a tongue twister, so do not attempt to say that super fast because you will mess it up. You can find
Slewfoot Show.
At Slewfoot Show. You can find us on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. You can find us and our 31 and 31 previews. They are still going because it is still September. There is 8 days left. We haven't missed a day yet. There was one day that was real close. Mike Laybourne saved my butt on that one. So thank you to Mike. Thank you to the rest of the team for the great articles that they're putting out there. And tune into those. I think tomorrow is, I want to say St. Louis is coming up Tuesday morning. So you can see, does our previewer think that it's going to be a repeat? Time shall tell. And you can obviously head to albertapodcastnetwork.com for great shows. And as the season's starting, maybe you've used it for a concert. Maybe you're using it for preseason tickets. But I know that when I am going to an event, the first place I go to is Secondary Ticket Market. I'm not going to Ticketmaster first. I'm going to see how much I'm going to pay somewhere else. Because maybe I'll get a good deal. And if they're expensive there, I'm for sure not still getting tickets for the cheap at online. So I head to there. But if you go to SeatGiant, seatgiant.ca, you'll be able to save 5% with promo code APN. That's my place to go to. That's my favorite spot to go and get my tickets if I'm heading to an event. So if you're looking for tickets to a preseason game, right? Maybe they're super cheap because there's not a lot of people wanting to go to a preseason game. Head on over there. Make it even cheaper. 5% promo code APN. You will not regret that. APN, obviously, for the Alberta Podcast Network. Fred, thanks for filling in for Nick.
Oh, the tough shoes to fill, let me tell you, Carl. But thank you. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
You did a fantastic job, as we all knew you would. And if you are looking for more great hockey shows, make sure to check out the Slewfoot Show. That'll be a great addition to your podcast lineup, especially because they come out the day before us. You'll be able to tune in, check out them. They come out, Sundays? Is that where you're going to be still going through the regular season?
Yeah, we usually try to go Sunday evening, so it's usually out late Sunday, early Monday, depending.
Well, there you go. You can add them to your Monday morning lineup. The Monday Drive to Work, brought to you by the Slewfoot Hockey Show. And
thanks, Carl.
Hey, you know what? Do what I can. Until next week, Nick should be back. All things going well. And until then, take care.